I love this time of year. You wake up, it's dark. Get off work, it's dark. It's cold. Everything looks how I feel inside. It's gonna be great.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Good morning, everyone. I say good morning. You may listen to this at night. It's fine. Hello. Have a good night if you are.
There was a delay in you saying good morning. I don't know if you were swallowing or contemplating or if there's an internet lag. So let's see.
Let's see what life has for us.
Oh, man. Now you're breaking up. This does not bode well. Eric, I am in a tizzy. What a November.
Oh, no.
What a November Matt is going to have. Let me break down our November, and then we'll get into some pumpkin spice talk, and then maybe some entertainment news. First things first, though, before all of that, because I am leaving for about 2 weeks, we are going to bank an episode and then take Thanksgiving week off. So next week's episode will be recorded tomorrow. We are recording this one Thursday morning. Next week's episode will be recorded tomorrow and probably be, I mean, we always say this, but very light on entertainment news. Actually, today is too, as far as, tomorrow night might not have any. If we can't, if something big doesn't break overnight, we might not have anything for you. So, and then we also, before I head out, we're going to do a Wakanda Forever for our Patreon Hudson Hawks for the new MCU movie, which Eric has already seen 90 times, and I will see for the first time tonight. Yeah, but you're seeing it again tonight, so by the time we record it, you'll have seen it 3 times, and I'll have seen it once.
True.
So you just talk for the Wakanda Forever edition, and I'll go yep or nope, and then we can get it done. But let me tell you what's going on. First of all, I don't think I've talked about any of this on the podcast, but selling my house, and it's been an absolute nightmare that I haven't gotten into and won't right now, if at all. But the house is sold. So been dealing with that, as well as the trip I have coming up, which I leave for. This is the poor, pitiful me part of this whole thing, which is like, I'm going to Portugal and then Germany to see The Cure. Oh, no. But it's only a pain because it throws a wrench into other things happening.
Yeah, it's a life.
In reality, in actual reality. This is fantasy. You go over into Europe and you see these castles. You're like, fuck you. You're not real. This is all make-believe. But this week, I took my son to Denver to my ex-wife. So he's going to stay there, which meant that I just drove to Denver and back in 48 hours. Well, over
How
2
is
days.
that, Matt? Super fun?
It's so fun because, so the thing is, the drive, I've done this drive many times now, way more than I've liked. I've wanted to, but like, it's a 12-hour drive about, and I'm including stops, which is too long to kind of split into 2 days.
Yeah.
But too short to not take up your entire goddamn day, and like, you don't do anything except mostly drive and then crash into bed.
Wait, I think you're saying not long enough.
I don't know.
2 days.
Up is down, black is white. We're through the looking glass.
Right.
I just spent 24 hours over the past 48 hours driving, to the point where I have the driving dizzies. Have you ever experienced that when you drive for a long, long time and then you get out of the car and you're weeble wobbly?
I don't know about that. I don't think I've experienced
like it affects my motion of the ocean. And so then when you lay down in bed, the room's not spinning, but it's also not still. You know what I mean? All right. And so anyway, that was done so that I could basically clear the pathway and cleanse the palate for the Portugal trip coming up. But that's why we're cramming all this gram ahead of time.
And one thing we haven't even talked about, Matt, but I'm gonna in real time here. I'll proclaim it on.
No, Jesus Christ. Okay.
And we'll repeat it on the one where I have to pre-tape, which is that Andor, we're gonna do a special episode on it, but it's gonna be like probably better part of the week after the finale, because the finale airs the goddamn day before Thanksgiving, which would be tricky anyway. But Matt will be out of the country still, and then I leave for a short trip, but I leave for Vegas right as he's getting home. So we will do an Andor episode for our Hudson Hawkers. It just will be a few days later.
I love Andor. I love Andor so much.
Spoiler alert, I love Andor as well. Yes.
Oh, man, I didn't know. Why is mine not a spoiler alert? Why is yours? Well, I mean, people care about your opinion more than mine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So anyway, well, also, guess what day I am flying back, Eric?
Thanksgiving, right?
No, the day before Thanksgiving, which is
the day before.
optimal travel day, as far as I know,
man.
for everything going correctly.
No, Matt, that's actually really bad.
Oh, what? That's terrible.
Okay.
So it's not the European part of it that
No,
I
actually,
read.
it'll be more chaos when you get into America.
No, so basically, I have in my head in the background, I plan to be possibly stranded in I think Charlotte. I think I land in Charlotte to go through customs. And did I already check, Eric, if there was a car I could reserve in case I just needed to drive?
Oh, smart man.
15 hours. It's just 3 more hours than the trip I just took to Denver. It was $43 a day. Yes. But guess how much the taxes and fees were?
Oh, no. How much?
$900. Bringing the total to $1,037 for a one. That's returning it. Basically, you're returning it to a different airport the next day. It was $1,000. Anyway,
once in a while, I'll see something I want to buy on Amazon, and it'll be like a store in Japan, like through the U.S. Amazon, and it'll be like, oh, this is like $18. This like album I've wanted, and then it's like with the taxes and fees, it's like 75. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a little different decision about to make.
And then when I get back, Eric, I get to move. Like almost immediately, I get to move.
This move. Is exhausting month for you. All right.
It is. I mean, I already have a place. It's fine, but I get to move all the shit out of here, and then hopefully when my son comes back, it'll just be his room all set up for him, and the cat all acclimated and all that stuff. So you know how it goes. Moving close by to Frisco, which doesn't mean anything to you, which is just, it's another suburb. People,
not San Francisco, Frisco, Texas.
Suburb. And then December trip to see Hadestown and Phantom before it leaves. I don't know. Have you seen Hadestown? I saw it last year here.
No, I've not seen Hadestown.
It's really good. Anyway. Wow, we go hard, Eric. What was the wrestling entrance theme that said "We go hard"?
We go hard.
Was that the revival?
It was the revival.
Revival. Yeah, that was it. I wanted to call him FTR, but that was a different lifetime. Okay. In the main event today, we've got Ginger Snaps. We're still on our werewolf run here. A movie I hadn't seen and you hadn't seen?
I know. I watched. I said I thought I watched it earlier in the pandemic, and I checked. And I watched that sucker on March 14th, 2020, which I believe is 2 days before lockdown, and my surgery happened simultaneously. So It was like right when things had. That was the week like the Tom Hanks has COVID, the NBA is shutting down week. I was like, I'm gonna finally watch Ginger Snaps. So.
Well, people looking for ground zero for the Rona, I think look no further than Eric watching Ginger Snaps, which apparently opened some ancient seal that doomed us all.
And it was already the doom had already happened because in fact, Matt can see, but you can't see. That I am wearing a hat for The 100, the TV show. And if COVID hadn't happened, the night I watched Ginger Snaps, I would have been at the 100 series wrap party. That didn't happen, that party, because they were lucky just to finish the show when everything was shutting down, much less. And of course, the party was called off because everyone was getting COVID. And so I watched Ginger Snaps instead. A movie, Matt, that last week I clocked in my mind you said involved a gang. And I thought he has a very different perception of Ginger Snaps.
I thought it was like a girl gang. I thought it was kind of like, I thought it was like a girl gang of werewolves, not just the one girl werewolf.
A kind of craft.
Right, exactly. I thought it was like Kraft Wolf, which is my favorite EDM band from Belgium. I love them. So let's check in with our Australian listeners here, which we've got a few back and forths. One is Brad, who is also from Australia, has written in to talk about the pumpkin controversy. I don't know that our Australian listener brought up about how he did not like pumpkin pie, and that we sort of wanted to clarify for international listeners that pumpkin pie and pumpkin spice flavor were very different things.
As I'm drinking, Matt, do you see what I'm drinking?
I do. You're drinking some cold concoction from the Bucks.
It's a pumpkin spice frap.
There you go. Oh, a frap. It's a frozen. Okay. Yeah. So I'm saying there is a Venn diagram involved. There is a cross section of their flavor, but they're different. I'm not saying they're completely dissimilar, obviously. But so Brad writes in, I just wanted to respond to ABC from the last podcast and his disdain of pumpkin pie. I've written the show before. I'm the Outback Australian guy. When I was in high school and living in the city, my mother bought a copy of Can You Feel the Heat, which is the WWE cookbook.
I already love everything about how this is beginning.
Inside was a recipe for mankind's pumpkin pie. I promptly cooked it up and thought it was delicious. I even had my wife cook the recipe in lieu of my birthday cake on my birthday. And that's going hard like the revival there. Like, I've also tried the Costco pumpkin pie, as we have Costco in Australia. This is also delicious. I thought I would let you know because ABC does not speak for all Australians on this issue. Also, if you don't like Vegemite, you've spread too much on your toast. You really want to hold back, as it's next to next to no Australians ever that spread this generously on our sandwiches. Love the podcast. Looking forward to hearing it each week. Thank you, Brad, for the clarification. We have 2 camps now in Australia. And
also, we have a controversy. Though he did say last week that he left Australia because he said he never experienced Costco until he got to Taiwan, I believe it was. But maybe they hadn't opened.
Well, maybe he'll move back now that he knows maybe he left because there was none and no Costco, and now he can go back safely.
Also, I'm looking at the cover of "Can You Take the Heat?" The WWF is cooking book, which has Jim Ross standing over a giant wok with stirring stuff with Stone Cold and The Rock standing to his side.
I hear Jim Ross likes barbecue. And barbecue
he's
sauce
not making.
even.
Oh, there is some barbecue on the cover. If I look, I think
He better be. They can't miss Brand JR. So y'all can write in as well at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com or write in on Patreon if you're a Patreon
Jim Ross
patron.
is the writer of this book, by the way, of the "Can You Take the Heat?"
He did the copy.
I mean, that's what they claim. The cover says.
Okay. He's like slobber knocker, hellfire and brimstone. Business is about.
Oh God, you got a
my God, he's broken in half. Okay. So ABC has now written back after our comments on Patreon and wrote in all the years of following along with your hashtag pumpkin talk, I never knew there was a difference between pumpkin spice flavored food and pumpkin flavored food. I will endeavor to track down and report back my findings on pumpkin spice. I had to Google ginger snaps. See, I didn't think that was something that everyone had.
The pun would be lost.
But he writes in at the end. I don't think this is as full a heated debate as it might be, but he writes, "Don't trust anyone who loves Vegemite." Now, Brad said it's tolerable in limited spread, right? So I don't think Brad loves Vegemite, but this ABC says, "Don't trust anyone who loves it," which is, I think, good advice. I want to know their take on the game of Knifey Spoony, so maybe they can weigh in on that next week. Okay, I have discovered the most indie movie title I think I've ever heard in my life. It's a movie I didn't know existed, but I guess a trailer broke, and it's just a small movie. Eric, it's called The Almond and the Seahorse.
Oh, Jesus. That's a Box of Moonlight for the new generation.
So it goes Box of Moonlight, Myth of Fingerprints, The Almond and the Seahorse, as far as like
just like
try hard indie
this
titles.
Is not saying the title. It's not saying the movie is bad. It's just sort of a pretentious art house title.
In fact, I think I liked The Myth of Fingerprints. By the way, I think The Myth of Fingerprints.
I hear Box of Moonlight is great. I've never seen it. But...
I hear Sam Rockwell deserved an Oscar nomination.
I heard either. That's word on the street. Is he deserves an Oscar nomination?
But we are in Myth of Fingerprints season right now because I think it's one of those dysfunctional Thanksgiving movies. It's one of those like family get-togethers, but no one gets along. And it's got Noah Wiley. I can't remember.
Well, lessons will be learned by the end.
Fingerprints will be mythed. Yeah, that's it. All right, let's get out of this weird. So, very briefly, Mark has also written in on Gmail. Basically, he writes Blues Brothers because I think we brought that movie up, based on the car crashes in American Werewolf in London. He writes Blues Brothers. It is crazy enjoyable and has that Frank Oz cameo you referred to. He would like it to be he says next main event, but I think he just means future main event because we still have werewolf movies to do. So those new to the movie will thank you, he says.
And I really dig Blues Brothers. Just haven't seen it forever. Although we'd have to figure out what Blues Brothers was part of. I don't think we do Blues Brothers and Blues Brothers 2000.
Just a mini. The superior sequel. The superior.
We could do like buddy or pairing movies at some point. We'll see.
I feel like we did that with Murdered to Couples. They were buddies, right? Like
yeah. This would be different.
No, you know what? Buddy's fine because I want an excuse to also do Well, this would really just be buddy cops because, like, I really want to do Running Scared. But
no,
I
but
don't
Blues
know
Brothers aren't cops at all.
That's what I mean. I mean, like, we could do it. We could, because there are so many buddy cop movies, do a ton of buddy cop movies.
We could, but we don't have. I mean, we can saying if we just did buddy movies, it'll mostly be cop movies, but there'll be a couple that aren't. So,
could we include Air Buddies in that and just have a cute dog movie?
Yes. Absolutely.
By the way, dead dog trigger warning for this movie today. I didn't know it well enough to tell people that, but yeah.
I'd forgotten that.
You'd forgotten that because of basically this movie kicked off a global pandemic. Okay. Let's see. Very briefly get through some entertainment news snippets here. One is that there is an Indiana Jones series. It's being talked about. It's being discussed, being volleyed about over at Disney Plus, that they want some sort of Indiana Jones streaming series. We don't know if it's with Harrison Ford, if it's a prequel series, because the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles already exists as it was a previous TV show. That's all we kind of know at this point, unless you know more, Eric.
No, I don't know more. It makes sense. Harrison Ford is, pretty adamant this will be his final Indiana Jones movie. Indiana Jones is, a franchise where it's been so connected to one actor that it's very hard to feel like they could just continue the movies with a new actor, at least anytime soon. TV, I feel like one of two things would be the most viable, which is one, you just do Young Indiana Jones Chronicles again. Yeah. Obviously, new young actors. People who didn't know that show, it was two different eras. So there was like a little kid indie and a teenage indie. So they could do that again. Or you do a spin-off character. Like, do you take someone from the new movie? Do you bring Short Round back?
I would say I would watch a Short Round series. I would watch it yesterday. I would. In fact, that can't come soon enough. Now that's all I want now. Now, this is whatever iteration they tell me. If it's not that, I'm upset. Yeah,
this is the time to make that happen with Ke Huy Quan. Kind of back in such a big way and getting such a beloved photo with Harrison Ford. So
just do it with him and Phoebe. I wanted to say Phoebe Waller-Bridges, but I'm getting them all mixed up. Phoebe Bridgers, but it is Phoebe Waller-Bridges.
No, it's Waller. It's singular. It's Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Okay, but then Phoebe Bridgers is someone different.
Yes,
that's the singer. Okay, they need to sort that shit out. I'm just saying they could. Well, one could write the theme song, and I don't mean the singer. I mean the actual actress should write the theme song.
She's a great writer. So
I'm saying, like, that's too much for me to keep in my brain. There's too much content in the world. They need to sort their name situation out on their own and get back to us. Okay. So, and then also in like movies to streaming series news, the It prequel series, which now would this be an It prequel series to the movies, which took place in the 80s as kids?
Yes, exactly. Okay. It's Welcome to Derry, I believe is the title, and it's from Muschietti. I'm not sure. I'm saying him and his sister. Yeah. They're producing this, and so it'd be a direct prequel to those films. But the interesting thing here is that the book is set in the 50s and the 80s, but the movies move that to make I say flashbacks, the kid part 89.
So the whole thing is like, honestly, when they made It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 as movies, we were kind of on the threshold of the latest time we could make those movies without the kid parts being in the internet era.
Right. Yeah,
so it's like you could make them now, but if you wait 5 or 10 years, then those kids are in the 90s and you have to deal with like cellular telephones and the internet, which would be a weirder thing to put into an It story. You would really have to like change the story around quite a bit. But setting them in the 80s, they could still be outdoors on their bikes and not have cell phones and not have to you would actually have to go to the library and research the history of Derry through old newspaper clippings and stuff like that. Anyway.
Well, but also
there's a cutoff point.
This series would be set in the 60s, and I go, oh, this makes sense because it comes back every 27 years or so.
Right.
And so if you did a prequel to the movie set in 89, that's 1962. It's basically almost the 50s, right out of the 50s. So you basically get to do Derry in 1962, close to the damn 50s. And
just
so
not with the kid characters.
Not with those same characters. Right? Yeah. So we'll see. By the way, I mean, again, hey, one day maybe I think one day we almost certainly will do Stephen King movies, and maybe we'll do the It movies, and we can talk about how much as it being one of my very favorite books. I mean, I love the first movie a ton. I was so disappointed by the second one.
Yeah, me too.
And so this sounds like it could be cool. And then of course you'll get the big question of like, is Bill Skarsgård a part of this? Because he would be obviously the big person you'd want back, the connective tissue.
It's funny because with like the way it works, just ever since it was a book, and then going into the miniseries, was that 1990, I believe?
Yeah.
When was that? Which is to say, the kid part was always stronger, even in the books, obviously, but like translating to screen, it's always so much stronger. Like. I do believe there is a good way to do the adult story.
It's tougher. The kid part is the more
done it
interesting
yet.
part.
No one's been able to nail it yet, especially chapter 2, which the kids were such a popular part that they brought them back for a lot of scenes, flashback scenes in chapter 2. Anyway,
with a strange de-age them by 2 years thing, keep them in the shadows. Do you know? I was going to mention this when we got to it, not knowing we were going to do this news story. But of course, we have a giant connection to it in our main event today. Do you know what it is?
Oh, yeah. She played Beverly.
Yeah, Emily Perkins, the lead of Ginger Snaps, who played Bridget in Ginger Snaps, was Beverly Marsh in the It miniseries.
In the miniseries in 1990. Yes, that's true. I had that in the back of my brain, but I didn't connect it when you wrote this news story down. So the actual news part of this is that this prequel series has found showrunners in Jason Fuchs, who was behind Wonder Woman, Pan, Ice Age,
I shouldn't say behind because all these movies have a million writers on them, but he was a writer.
He was a writer and then Brad Caleb Kane, a writer on Tokyo Vice, Black Sails, which the Black Sails is good. Tokyo Vice has its moments. Moonhaven, what channel was that on? Isn't that with Dominic?
I remember the title, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Dominic Monaghan and Joe Manganiello. Was it Roku channel? I don't know. I can't remember, but it's on something bizarre. Okay.
And this is for HBO Max. We'll see what happens.
We should also mention is doubling down on franchises right now after billions of dollars of were lost in the last quarter.
Zaslav's like all about that franchise. Let's do it.
AMC Plus. Okay, so it's just AMC Plus again. I'm not going to go into it, Eric. Not the easiest streaming service to deal with, but yeah, Moonhaven has Dominic Monaghan and Kadeem Hardison. Oh wow, okay. Dwayne Wade. Okay,
he was on Teenage Bounty Hunters, and he was great on it.
Oh, cool! I heard good things about that show.
It's a good show. You should watch it. I mean, of course, it's a sad.
It doesn't end. It doesn't end. Why would I do that?
You should watch it.
Too much to do. Okay. That's our news, really. Honestly, again. So unless the biggest news story, everyone's been preoccupied by politics these past few weeks. So
and Twitter,
man, I'm trying to think who I should pay to impersonate. Who should I pay to impersonate?
Why do you have a rat on your account forever?
It's forever. Well, everyone should have a forever rat. I highly recommend it. It's great. No, because last week there's a sort of a Twitter artist and comedian who said, hey, instead of a blue check mark, why doesn't everyone just put a rat on there? And it's like, get rat verified. And it was a hashtag. And then a couple websites wrote it up. It's like, hey, the latest thing taking over the internet this afternoon is people adding rats. So I added it. And now I'm afraid with the rule of not changing your name gets you, loses you your blue check mark or something like that, or gets you kicked off Twitter forever. I don't know what the ramifications are, but now I'm too afraid to delete the rat from my Twitter handle for fear that I'll be banished to Clout or Tout or MySpace or something else that died long ago.
Doja Cat is stuck as Christmas forever, and you're stuck with your rat buddy forever. So.
Well, a lot of people I see have been stuck with their Halloween names. So
I honestly, I changed it. I tried to change it anyway, November 1st, but that was right as Musk was taking over, and it was like there was a lot of stuff being talked about, so that actually made me rush it more. And I was actually thinking about updating my profile and header photo, and I didn't do that. and I'll probably have those photos forever there. So
That's fine. As you can tell, things over at twitter.com are going splendidly. No notes. The Fucknut Edgelord is doing everything. He's basically displaying the business genius that his followers have claimed he is all along, because everything
follow us while you can. That's what we'll say.
Going perfectly. Okay. Let's get into our good things to enjoy, right? Yeah. This is the next thing. Okay. Well, we're just chugging along here like a normal podcast without all the hems and haws. Okay. What is your recommendation this week, Eric?
My recommendation this week is one I meant to recommend last week. It's just because I saw this movie like a month earlier at Beyond Fest.
Oh,
I know.
Early movie,
but I forgot. Like, oh, it's actually available now. Yeah. I should recommend it. And then I saw people tweeting about it and thought, oh, that's right. Which is Weird, the Weird Al story on Roku. Have you seen this yet, Matt?
Yes, very funny. Very funny. I stand by your recommendation.
Excellent. As everyone knows, the Weird Al biopic starring Daniel Radcliffe, which, just it sells itself based on everything I just said. But it's a really funny movie. It inevitably, you cannot not think of Walk Hard. Now, it's very funny because Eric Apple, the director and I believe co-writer of this movie, has said he has never seen Walk Hard, so it just wasn't even something that he would be like conscious of, like, don't do that. And because there's a couple things, if you're doing a biopic parody, there's going to be a couple like go-tos, which is like the disapproving father and the drug addiction. Like, there's just things that are going to happen.
So one of the things is, from my experience, is when I heard this was happening with Daniel Radcliffe, obviously it was always in the back of your mind, because it's Weird Al, that it could be silly and like not serious. Yeah. But when I hear biopic, because that's all it was advertised as, I was like, oh, this may be a comedy, but also kind of like an earnest look at Weird Al's very extraordinary career, like what a niche performer he is, what an interesting way he came up and all this stuff, and that it would actually be based in some form of truth. And then when the trailer dropped, I was like, oh, okay, it's just Weird Al. He's doing a bit, Eric. He's doing a bit.
He's doing a bit with the, and he co-wrote the movie. It's just like, it's taking his life, has the barest sketch, because it's like, Dr. Demento being someone who really championed him and helped make him a star is true.
Which is an actual radio DJ and not a Marvel villain.
Like, and Rainn Wilson plays Dr. Demento, except that it's just like, this movie is doing it in a purposely exaggerated, very funny, silly way of like, a pool party with like every niche, weird star of the early 80s attending. And the entire relationship, he has a romantic relationship with Madonna that did not happen. The only truth is that Madonna said to him, you should do a parody of one of my songs.
Yeah.
That turns into the movie into Madonna obsessively wanting him to do a parody, because that's how she'll finally become a star. And going to some insane, wonderful places. So the movie, just because it's like not trying to be real at all, is hysterical, because it's like Tarantino, where he creates an alternate reality with real people.
Yeah,
like, what if
his rehistories. Yeah,
yes. This is that, except of course, pushed super far as wacky comedy. It's really funny. Radcliffe, completely commits. Although it is funny that he's lip syncing to Weird Al when he's singing. But he goes all out, and then is uncomfortably buff when he's shirtless. But no, I really like this movie, and this is the movie, along with Prey, I most am bummed is a streaming only movie this year. And in both cases, brag, I got to see them at screenings with an audience, and they played so well. And it's just like, this should have been opening weekend for this movie. The fact that it's only on the Roku channel, it's like, couldn't they have gotten a limited theatrical run? Because I know comedies right now, it's so tough for just a pure comedy that's not like comedy sci-fi or something to make it in theaters. But I hope they can make a comeback, stuff like this. But that being pushed aside, you can watch this on the Roku channel for free with ads. It's really funny. And yeah, it just takes all these echoes of like, yes, he was really interviewed by Oprah and all these things, but it's just done in this very ridiculous, wonderful manner. Everything about when he does the song "Eat It" is amazing, and
yeah, it's hilarious. While I was watching it, I was videoing it off the screen and sending it to some friends. I was like, "This is the biopic is on point, like it is true to life." Everything you could expect from Weird Al Yankovic's life. It is very funny.
And lots of celebrity cameos.
Yeah, a lot of like funny people who you know from other things and bigger things, like doing little bits here. And we even Weird Al had cameos in it, and is very funny.
And like stuff like Jack Black has Wolfman Jack, the famous DJ who narrated American Graffiti.
Yeah,
just like a lot of that of like modern day celebrities playing goofy celebrities from that era,
which is basically again the walk hard element. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really funny. Why couldn't Christopher Nolan have welcomed us back to cinema with Weird? That's my question. Why was it Tenet? My toxic trait is trying to figure out Tenet. Last week, I got on a weird Tenet kick of like watching online videos explaining how it works because I really wanted to. And I think I got it, Eric. I think I actually understand now. Now, when I watched the Stask 12 battle at the end, I was like, I see everything now. I know what to look for. So now I'm like, that's it. That's way too much work that anyone has to put in for a movie, by the way. So
you mentioning Nolan reminds me that I don't know if you saw that THR had this quick item about a kind of major power lunch last week that happened, and it was Spielberg and Nolan. Christopher Nolan had lunch with David Zaslav and Peter Safran. Safran is now co-running DC studios with James Gunn, and it's like, well, that's interesting. But of course, the internet being the internet, it for some reason, Matt, it directly turned into, I wonder if they're doing Superman. Like somehow that was the specific thing.
Well, I mean, no, but like Legendary wasn't behind Man of Steel, right?
I don't remember if they were.
I can't. I feel like they were a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. But also, the Batman connection. Maybe he's going to do a Batfleck movie. I don't know. I understand why there could be speculation about all that. Movie. Yeah. Maybe it's Spider-Ham. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
You are correct that Man of Steel was Legendary, although they have no ownership in Superman. They just were.
No, I know that. Yeah. All right. Maybe they were talking about Weird.
Maybe it was just a lunch to say how much they all loved Weird.
You know what was good? Weird.
There was a text chain that they have.
Man, my recommendation, because I was playing this out of my ass during my long drive. I don't know if you know the drive to Denver is not short and back. Okay. I'm going to basically piggyback off last week when Ryan recommended The Vast of Night, a movie I had reviewed for IGN and very much liked. I think I gave it a 9. Ryan, by the way, wrote back in and said he feels like a moron for recommending a movie I reviewed, but that's Brian, don't feel like a moron. Why would you read? You don't have to read every little.
I didn't know Matt reviewed that.
You didn't know that, and he's known me since middle school. Like, Eric, you're a moron. You don't know what I do. Ryan, I'll get to the rest of your
on May 30th, 2020. So 2 months into the pandemic, you reviewed that.
Ryan, we'll get to your Stargate thoughts on the next episode because we're going to need content. Okay, is The Vast of Night, which is a very small budgeted sort of spooky sci-fi movie that went to Amazon Prime. You can watch it there. It doesn't have big stars in it, nor does it have a big name director or budget. This is as kind of shoestring as you can get, but for what it is, it also looks great. It takes place in the 1950s in a small New Mexico town, and it's basically one night in the lives of a switchboard operator played by Sierra McCormick and a radio disc jockey played by Jake Horowitz, and them sort of like the mystery building up over the course of the movie over these mysterious audio transmissions that they're receiving. And it's sort of like basically the everything unspools and unfolds into like a UFO conspiracy story. And I think it was really well done and really effective, and just presents itself in I think when Ryan was describing it, it felt like an X-Files episode, which it does, but also it's a period piece. So it also feels like the sci-fi of that era as well. So I recommend that, but also because that was a half recommendation because we talked about it last week a little bit. I'm going to start recommending albums. We've done books, but did we ever do we've done podcasts.
Yeah.
But we've never done like music, I don't think.
I don't think we have.
All right. I think for the next 4, maybe let's try it for a month. I'm going to try to recommend an album. And when I recommend an album, I'm kind of going by what is an album that I go to listen to root to snoot, front to back, like in order, non-shuffle. And so I was looking for some yesterday when I was on my drive. what can I just, instead of like listening to playlists I have, what albums can I revisit? And so I'm going back for my first album recommendation. It is a band called Canse d'être sexy, which is just usually called CSS, which translates to tired of being sexy. And I saw this band open for Ladytron, one of my favorite bands of all time, and I really dug them. Why am I not recommending a Ladytron album, by the way? I have no idea. I'm recommending this opening act album of a band whose I only listened to one album of. I never followed the rest of their career after this.
What are they called again?
CSS. And I am recommending this Brazilian sort of pop, dance, disco, indie rock band act for their debut album, which is just self-titled CSS. And I think it is a really fun, upbeat, sort of, I don't know, it's a little demented at times. It's a little fun. They were great live. I think the album holds that live spirit that they brought to the performance. And it's got they're not famous. They have basically their one single from that album is called Let's Make Love and Listen to Death from Above, which is a reference to another indie band called Death from Above 1979. And but yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's from 2005 or 6. And it's just a small album, and you can find it on Spotify, or you could just stream it for free. And if you've got to also have a long road trip coming up, just add this album, and I think you will be pleasantly surprised. I think it's really upbeat. It keeps you awake if you're having the road sleepies, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe I should actually check out the rest of their career. Who's to say? I don't know.
So here's the mysteries of the unknown about you bringing this up this week, Matt. The other day in my car, the CSS song "Meeting Paris Hilton" came on, which I have.
That's on the album,
which I have owned for 16 years, and I love. And I thought to myself, I think Matt likes this band. I need to ask him, am I correct? This is a band Matt likes. So, and then I forgot to ask you that. So the fact that you brought this up, it's a little weird.
It's a little weird. It's a little vast and night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right.
It's a little spooky.
But I'm glad to know I was correct. Hey, there's a John Wick 4 trailer that just came out. We'll have to watch later.
Oh, now let's do it right now. Let's let everyone can listen to us watch the trailer.
Ooh.
So my first album I recommend is CSS's CSS, Canse d'être Sexy's Canse d'être Sexy from 2005. Okay. Let's get into the
I really wonder
event.
how I have this song, by the way. Did I burn it from you? Who the hell knows?
How would you burn it from me?
Like when I've taken the CD
from my flesh?
There was a time, Matt, where you would take a CD and put it into your computer, and you would burn songs.
Well, that's the thing is I did have this actual CD because you had to buy music.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it was a different time.
Do you still have my CSS CD?
Possibly.
Okay, give it back. All right. Next week's main event. We're kind of doing, it's fun. We're kind of doing 2 small budgeted films before we wrap things up with a more lavish Hollywood production. So
Hollywood bomb.
It's a lavish bomb. Like money was spent, money was not brought. Right. Money was not returned. We're doing Ginger Snaps right now, and then next week is Dog Soldiers, which you can watch on all forms of Starz apps and add-ons, including also just a DirecTV subscription. Unless, other than that, you have to rent it.
But again, guys, my advice is always, this is what I did. I subscribed to Starz. In my case, I did it through the Apple app, and then I immediately canceled that subscription so it wouldn't. I have the free week of Starz, and canceling it didn't stop that free week, but it just won't auto renew and charge me in a week. And I was able to watch Dog Soldiers. Just a pro tip if you want to try to watch it that way.
Dog Soldiers is a gang of werewolves, so it is craft. It is craft wolf.
Yes.
Unlike Ginger Snaps. Okay, Dog Soldiers by director Neil Marshall, who's had a very interesting, fun career that we'll get into next week. And Ginger Snaps. We got to do this in 30 minutes, Eric. So let's get into it.
Okay.
Oh shit. I mean, it's a small movie.
I don't know.
I liked half this movie. I think it sort of like trails off in the second half. But I definitely like the setup. I get notes. I get tasting notes, Eric, of Heavenly Creatures and like even Jennifer's Body, obviously Greg Araki movies.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of things going on here that I'm getting on the palette. And this is from John Fawcett, who's a co-creator of Canadian series that sort of broke big thanks to, what was it, BBC America, I think, or Orphan Black, starring now She-Hulk Tatiana Maslany, which is a great series. And starring...
He directed it, and the writer of this movie, Karen Walton, she was also a writer-producer on Orphan Black. So they would both...
And she's written for other shows as well.
Yeah. And he's directed a ton of TV. John Fawcett, besides co-creating Orphan Black, like if you look at his IMDb, he's directed a lot of episodes of TV you've seen, most likely.
This has Emily Perkins in it, who I already mentioned, played young Beverly Marsh on the 1990 It miniseries as, well, some other things. I think I see that she came back for the Ginger Snap sequels, of which there are at least 2.
It's a trilogy.
Trilogy. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also more famous of the 2 who works a ton is Catherine Isabel as Ginger, who was Margot Verger on Hannibal, as well as being in a ton of television. And
but they're both Canadian.
The movies are like kind of like of the lower end of the horror spectrum, like the cheaper end of the horror spectrum, but the TV is just a ton. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that they're both Canadian actresses who have done a lot of Canadian TV. They've both been on Supernatural and recurring. Catherine Isabel did 2 episodes. Emily Perkins did a few episodes of Supernatural. So yeah, it's they're the Canadian. This movie was shot in Canada and is set in Canada. Mimi Rogers has a Ontario license plate eye clock. So
yeah,
and you can feel the Canada through and through in this.
Yeah, this is like it was shot in the Toronto suburbs, and it opens sort of like interestingly and drearily, and showing you kind of the downtrodden elements of this very, very overcast neighborhood.
But also I just want to
rainy
say,
and cloudy. But yeah,
I want to say that this will be my second time watching it. Yeah, first and foremost, the it's such a proto Jennifer's Body.
Yes,
there's a lot of parallels there as far as the dynamic of like the 2 best friends, mousy girl, hot girl, and one of them becomes a creature, and sort of the rift between them that causes. It also reminded me a little bit, just in the dynamic of the girls, of Ghost World, which came out, I think, the year after this, just because that's also about the 2 like purposeful outsiders, even though that movie has them graduating high school right at the beginning, but 2 girls who are like, very like, dance to the beat of their own drum, kind of hate the popular kids. Although that movie also has the dynamic that one is perceived as like the hot one, and boys like are interested in her, and kind of the other one being kind of like put off by that.
Spoilers, they're both hot, so whatever. But so
no, I all the movies we just mentioned, every movie we just mentioned, Amanda Seyfried is the dowdy, ugly one.
Well, I mean, just thinking
Thora Birch is just like disgusting.
Oh, it's making me nauseous, Eric, thinking about them. Okay, so, but yeah, so like with Jennifer's Body, it was childhood friends, but here we get childhood friends who are also sisters. So it's that element of a longtime friendship or sibling relationship changing because someone changes, and the loss that you feel when somebody leaves you, and that's very present here. When I brought up Greg Araki, I kind of meant more with the parents, with the Mimi Rogers character and the dad, of being like, these kids, the parents are always clueless and or only like too distracted by their own bullshit. Like the parents in this movie are like going to counseling and have their own problems and way too detached to tune into anything that's going on, which is why Mimi Rogers' mom at the end like makes some has an interesting turn when she finds out that murders are actually happening. Heavenly Creatures as well, with like sort of like the codependence that pact that you find with these 2 at the beginning. There's also some interesting proto non-binary vibes too here, which is that there is a rebellion against becoming, these 2 sisters are late having their period, the reluctance to join womanhood and for their bodies to change into something that actually resembles a traditional gender. Like they like being not female. Right. They're more comfortable with that. Right.
So after I watched the movie the other night, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna Twitter search Ginger Snaps. I want to see what people say about this movie.
Yeah, I'm sure like it's been re-examined, right?
It's very good. It's got a big cult following. You know, Shout Factory did a DVD years ago, a Blu-ray. And a lot of girls do a lot of fan art for this. And there was one girl who did like a Ginger Snaps walk, so Jennifer Body could run, and it was like she did like like little drawings of the characters from both. There was a lot of art, but also, you know, I even saw people talking about like that. Of course, feminism stuff comes up a lot with me, but also there's like like you were just mentioning non-binary stuff. There's like an easy little small nugget of like trans overlay with the fact her like strapping down her tail.
Yep.
Like, you know, there's something physically that I don't want to be necessarily, and like, you know, hiding. There's a lot of interesting things here. I really like this movie. The second time I saw it kind of solidified that, although I kind of agree with you in that I think the third act is not as interesting as the first two. There's some things I like in the third act, but yeah, the opening parts are the better parts of the movie.
Yeah, I like the setup. I like the idea that we're dealing with kind of like these two, you can say they're genderless, but like kind of two Wednesday Addams almost in the town. They're outsiders, but to a degree of like morbid fascination with death, to the point where they have kind of like a suicide pact, and like their photo art projects. I'm watching
opening
them.
Credits are great.
I'm like, is this sinister? What am I watching? Like all these death tableaus that they've got going, like a poison tea party, and like garage door kills and stuff like that, and it's really creepy. There is at times a satirical element, like just the beginning with like the close-ups of the kid with the blood, and like a woman screaming that outlandishly about her dog being ripped up, and it felt very much like it almost felt like not parody, but like there was some, and not full John Waters. No, but it's got Daniel Waters, I guess, too. Like,
no, but Heavenly Creatures is a good example, because Peter Jackson in that movie is operating at a heightened level, not just with these girls and their like delusions, but also like even the way the parents are like the
adult figures, right?
The adult figures, yeah. It's got that heightened thing, and the opening credits, like, you know, which are very fun with like, they're what turns out to be a school project that they show them, like all these photos they did of them dying and suicide, and all this stuff. But yeah, so it's definitely it's not like a full out comedy, but there's a comic edge to the whole thing.
And so we've got the two sisters, Bridget and Ginger, and we go from the dead dog to visiting them, and they're sort of their safe space away from the world, their room where, you know, we're introduced to Ginger, who's putting a knife to her wrist and like actively thinking about how they're going to die at age 16, which I believe Ginger is.
Ginger's just about to. They're both 15, but Ginger's like about to turn 16.
Yeah, and because they're in the same grade, I believe, because Bridget skipped a grade. She's sort of a prodigy.
But the implication here is that they were born like a year apart. Like Mimi Rogers shot these two girls out, like got pregnant right away after she had Ginger with Bridget.
So there's also this element where they kind of enjoy being like pissing everyone off and grossing everyone out and being like hated on. Even like they turn in that project, like they said to the teacher, and he's just like, he's disgusted with them, and that's what they're going for. So they kind of they're actively pushing. They're not like being quiet. They're kind of actively pushing themselves out of society. Like it's more of an active role.
Oh no. And then, which again kind of reminds me of Ghost World. But also, you know, immediately, of course, we get this divide of the bros, the guys who are like, can we see the ones of Ginger again? That like, you know, she gets all the attention from the boys, and she doesn't care. It's not like she's like, you know, trying to, like, she's not into that, but it's just a thing already that's going to become a bigger thing once the wolf rises within her.
It's also like Ginger is like, also both of them dress in huge baggy clothing, so it's not like Ginger is actively trying to like show off or anything like that. She does later as she wolfs out, but like it's just one of those things where they're both sort of the Morton Salt girl. They're kind of like rainy day girls who just
they're Lydia Deetzing through life.
A couple of Lydia Deetzes over here.
Yeah.
Hey, Lydia Deetz, Deets nuts.
What's the deets, Lydia?
That's a good one. Okay. They live in Bailey Downs is the name of this ramshackle town. And so yeah, then we go basically, and then with this movie, we also have werewolf is a curse. We're back to having a curse, but it's also the curse of womanhood. This movie is like makes no bones about the fact that it's sort of tying together her period with the werewolf, the onset of lycanthropy, and like the change in her body as a woman, as the change of her body going into a werewolf, and so many like horror movies are 99% allegories anyway. Like it's all about like different, like not what it's about on the surface per se. Like there's always usually the underlying meaning, and so this one wears it a little more prominently than a lot of movies. And
also it's like there's a version. I was thinking about the fact that it's like these two sisters, neither of whom have gotten their period several years late. I'm like, well, the simpler thing is just to have them be like 13, but I also realize that gets a lot more questionable content wise.
Right.
I can see why they
mean.
aged them to 15 and almost 16.
There's also an element of this of like that this movie may owe, a couple scoops of ice cream to Buffy, which is to say like Buffy was the story of the trials and tribulations of a teenage girl through the lens of being in the world of monsters. And so this borrows from that as well. Again, this isn't new territory, but these are newly 90s popularized.
This movie getting greenlit would definitely be in the wake of Buffy's success, and I'm sure helped it. Yeah.
So the girls are watching the sports. What are they doing up there? Is that lacrosse? I don't know what they're doing. Something field hockey, something. And local mean girl Trina Sinclair knocks Bridget into a dead dog. Eric,
there's a lot of dog corpses.
Yeah, did Steve Milan ever push you into a
not for a lack of trying, Matt? I was confused by this moment because that dog corpse is very prominent on the field. Was everyone aware of it and decided to play around it?
Did it just happen? Like, was nobody? Like it's like maybe they're just used to every day playing around some dead dog of some sort, and they're like, maybe they make a game out of it, like hit the ball into the dead dog. So this is when, and then we've got the boys, we've got the trio of boys led by Jason, who is the one who's like actively is trying to get with Ginger, and then there's the drug dealer with the very 90s middle part in his hair named Sam. And
who will become one of our leads. Yeah,
he will become one of our leads, and it's sort of a disturbing behavior sort of way. Like the delinquent teaming up with the
faculty as well,
the honor student.
It's kind of a thing.
It's a Kevin Williamson thing. Okay. Did Kevin Williamson have anything to do with disturbing behavior?
No,
it's just manifest it.
It's just he manifested it because it's like, let's make a horror movie with someone from the CW or WB, sorry, at the time.
Okay. And then we've got then we also have the background radiation of there's this beast in the woods that's killing neighborhood dogs. By the way, I would say the fact that nobody actually human has been killed at this point is pretty good on the werewolf. It's just it's just dogs. This werewolf actually does have some restraint. Though,
well, it's like the werewolves in The Howling were trying to stick to animals. This one is just a little more active in the neighborhood about it.
Yeah, this one's not trying to make it a secret. It's not like it's hiding the corpses anywhere. And then this is the point where the two sisters, because of what Trina did, Trina pulls a Steve Milan, and they want to get back at her. So they're going to they're not going to really kill her dog, right? Don't they want to like
her dog, but make it look like they killed it?
Yeah, they're just going to dress it up in one of their photography murder tableaus that they're so famous for in town. And while I think when they go to take the dog, they find that it's already killed, and then they're attacked by the wolf. And so let's talk about the rules of this movie. One thing it brings back, so the flash of the camera scares the wolf. It also allows Bridget to basically get a picture of the monster. But like the idea of bright lights affecting monsters is just is kind of spread evenly throughout all of monsterdom, which is like a flash will scare a creature. We've seen it with vampires as well. We've seen it with everything. But then there is a line in this movie later on where it's like, forget what you've seen in movies or forget everything you know about werewolves, which is something that we love. At this point in monster movie cinema, rules have been established over decades, and now it's time for like conventions to break according to what the plot needs. And so
a lot of these movies have a similar line because they want to be, here are the real rules, which is to say, here are the rules that this movie is going to
which
follow.
is to say, this isn't a movie, this is a real vampire, not a movie vampire. This is a real werewolf, not a movie werewolf. And because this wolf is killed by getting run over.
Mm-hmm.
So not by a silver bullet. And then this movie also brings up, I think, I'm not saying the first time in werewolf movie history, but the first time for us, the fact that a werewolf can be cured.
A cure is a big part of this movie. As we've talked about, a lot of these movies are just like, you're cursed, you're screwed, you got to die. This one, there is a way to cure this. Yeah. Like they have that conversation about if there was no cure, wouldn't there be like werewolves everywhere at this point? Like if it was just something that, couldn't be stopped the spread of.
Right. And so basically right as Ginger's period starts, she is taken by the beast into the woods and attacked.
Lured by the blood. Like, that's like, again.
Yeah, like, the idea that bears are attracted to menstruation. And so which is one of the huge takeaways from Anchorman. Okay, so
and Friday 13th Part 2.
Which I think came out before Anchorman.
It did.
So, and then we've got basically the transformation starts happening now. And to this movie's credit, it is actually takes place very quickly, and Bridget is kind of onto it, and then Sam is also instantly interested and knows what a werewolf is, because like even when she asks him like, what did you run over with your van, he's like, it looked like a lycanthrope. Like this is just like they have werewolves on the mind, like it is something that they deal with. So movies also differ in like basically not
how quickly will people believe,
right, protagonists' knowledge of werewolves or the world's knowledge of werewolves. Like those vary from film to film. And here, I'm not saying like Bailey Downs has a werewolf problem, that because the lore of that town is never gotten into in this movie at all. Maybe in the sequels it is. I have no idea. But these kids are basically they're like, oh yeah, it's a werewolf. And it looked like a werewolf too. It didn't look like an actual wolf. It looked like, well, he also mentioned the part where the guy, like the wolf had like a giant uncircumcised penis too. So
yes. There's that too. And I like a lot of little touches here. I really like Ginger starts getting the hair out of her cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is not being subtle in its analogies here, because they go to like the school nurse, and they're talking about like hair that wasn't there before and all, but it all
and
works.
Like I shouldn't be bleeding this much, when the nurse just sort of dismisses it because this is what all girls think, but in reality it is actually too much because it's a werewolf. So like,
and there's a really great I thought there's a great ominous when Bridget goes to buy Ginger period products, she's like goes, again, these girls that have like sort of resisted this for so long. And she goes to the supermarket, and there's like a great shot. And Emily Perkins is a wee person anyway. So they do a very like spooky shot of her looking up at a giant wall of these period products very ominously, that I thought was a cool shot.
And then there's also like white streaks start appearing in Ginger's hair, which get more prominent as she starts to wolf out. And then we actually find at the end in the transformation, I think Ginger Wolf looks a little silly, honestly.
The budget shows on full Ginger Wolf, because it looks so rubbery, like it doesn't like
it does. But Ginger Wolf is a white wolf. It's interesting. So to see the white streaks happen in her hair and get more and more fill up her hair as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
And then her eyes change. Little things happen. We're not fully like indoctrinated into the full like what the timeline is on the werewolf transformation, but you assume it goes by in a month's time, right? Like, so by the next full moon, the person should be ready to turn into this wolf. And whatever they're going to look like in human form is also sort of done at that point. And you mentioned the tail too, which is the most like of like all of the things as far as like hair growing out of wounds or wounds healing really quickly, like actively growing a tail. That
like when you're not the wolf, you still have this like little tail to
there's a little nubbin that you got to deal with. And then, but also like kind of like going into like how David felt after he attacked and killed everyone after being a werewolf. He was like frisky and animated and energized, and sort of like Ginger has this newfound feeling of sexual aggressiveness and just like attitudes that are more in line with like fitting into suburban teenage society and things that like pull her away more from her sister. And I know she eats a dog at one point. It's sort of a fake out as far as like after having sex with Jason, where she basically rapes him and sort of like thrashes him during this encounter that we're supposed to think briefly that she ate him, but it was a dog. So she's also like her like hunger for, you know, animals or the meat or the blood out there is also growing. But yeah, so she starts changing throughout. But then doing things, you know, more starkly and more notably plot wise, doing things that she never would have been into or interested in just a week earlier. Like when she and her sister were sort of so in sync and symbiotic. So,
and there's lots of fun moments here. Like after when she comes home after having sex, and again we're supposed to think that she might ate the guy, but it's no matter what, it's great because she comes in all bloody and then she starts puking. So she's like puking bloody chunky stuff. Just going all in on sort of this like visceral stuff. And again, we should also mention like werewolf movies almost never focus on women. The Howling did have female werewolves, but of course that was the whole thing in The Howling was it's like a huge like community. But most of them tend to focus on male.
I think this is not. I mean, I can't like this. It can't claim the entire victory, but this is the buffiness of this movie as far as like what that show did for female teenage protagonists being the center of things. Is really great and it's in movies too, not just television. Okay. So then we've got as Ginger pulls away from Bridget and becomes, you know, and Bridget feels the loss and pain of that, Bridget finds herself dealing with somebody who she normally wouldn't have when Sam. And it's another thing of like prejudging people for who they might be. And like Sam is the town like weed dealer, but is he a bad person necessarily? And like getting to know the boy behind the delinquent, and together they sort of put their noggins together and they do research and they come up with something there's some plant that's derivative of wolfsbane that could possibly be a cure, and like they don't know how to do it, and they use his drug dealing skills to mix up concoctions and so on. This is after she actually finds some in her home because her mom's decorating the place with it. What's it called? Moon. I wrote it down somewhere. I can't remember where it is. But it's like it's a plant. Monkshood. Okay. Yeah. And so the idea, and I do like the turn at the end of the movie. Again, the third act isn't the best, but the turn, because you expect the cure to be used, and like we see it used earlier, like it works on Jason, or it seems to. We assume it does because he becomes lucid in that moment and like almost his old self, almost having like amnesia about feral. What he had. But like also he didn't remember almost like in that moment what he'd just been doing. Right. So it's sort of implied that he was going to regress from being a werewolf and that it worked. And this is sort of what we expect to happen at the end with Ginger. But the fact that it goes in a different, more morbid direction is pretty interesting. And
the Sam and Bridget relationship is interesting too. Like, you know, say it's a fun, like, you know, unlikely partners thing. Then there's the thing of like, you know, could this be a romantic thing? Because, you know, it's like Ginger's like, she's 15. And he's like, I don't even think about her like that. And then, you know, it's like a little bit of an unsaid subtext that maybe that might insult Bridget. Like maybe she's like, well, maybe you should think of me like that.
Right. But also, is he lying?
Yeah.
Right. Because Trina even said he's a cherry hound, a cherry hunter or something, and goes after girls like
because he is hooking up with that other girl. Yeah.
Right. So it's like he could just be lying too. But so the first thing actually, so when Gina killed, we think she kills Jason. It's actually the next door dog, Norman. But then we actually get a full accidental murder, which is sort of a trope that happens, that it works as a catalyst for darker things, which is like the fight with Trina, who comes over and like the hitting her head on the counter and then figuring out what to do. I do like that they kind of like use the blood of the scene to like pretend it was one of the photo projects.
With covering it, the fact that the parents have become so accustomed to their girls making horribly gory murder tableaus that they can like pass off the blood and milk mixture as like something they purposely did on the floor.
It would be funny that like, well, you know, Trina is obviously going to go missing, and Ginger, because she has gotten, that's another thing, she's more aggressive now and gets into fights, and because she actually had a fight with Trina, like she'll be a suspect. But I would have also accepted they could have just been dragging Trina out of the room, and Mimi Rogers would have been like, "Oh, you kids, you know,
you
like,
got your friend, your classmates.
Oh yeah, you kids and your murder
except the
tableaus."
girls probably have never brought a friend home, so that would probably be the one.
That would actually like startle her more than anything than the actual murder. Like they could say, "Oh, we accidentally killed our friend," and she's like, "You have a friend?"
Right,
you know, she's so happy.
I'm just so happy. Yeah, I like how this movie builds with the murder, because so many dogs are killed, and then Trina is an accidental kill. Now, but Ginger will eventually murder people. But it's just like this sort of escalation of it.
And also, this movie is also breaks ground in the fact that like Jason got werewolfism, lycanthropy through sex, but also mostly because she scratched him, right?
I don't know.
Either or. Like this movie could actually make a case for both.
Bridget proclaims that it was through the sex, but you know, it could be either.
But also she's scratching him. So like either way. And at this point, Ginger's way too far gone and feels Bridget pulling away from her with Sam, and like she's actively like crazily shaving her legs, and to the point where like, you know, the mom comes in and she's like, "It's nothing I haven't seen before," and she's like,
but her legs are bleeding because she's trying to get all the hair off.
And so basically Trina's, you know, missing, and police want to talk to her about the fight that she had to see if she's like had anything to do with the disappearance. And this is where everything just sort of like escalates, because at this point, Ginger, that, you know, Trina's death has sort of activated something within her to the point where she gets pulled into a teacher's office and she just massacres this teacher.
Yeah.
And this is a character where we're like, oh, he was kind of a dick at the beginning. You know, I can't wait to see him die later. And then we do. But then like it goes beyond that, because then she like kills the poor janitor.
She kills a bit janitor who Bridget is like, he's still alive, so I can get him the cure. And then she like maliciously kills him so that, you know, there's no chance to save him.
And then I do think they could have done something more with the mom. I like Mimi Rogers.
Well, it's just weird how she vanishes. It's just,
that's the whole thing. It's like,
because the turn of her being like, I will do anything to protect my girls, so we're going to burn the house down and leave your dad behind because I know he wouldn't be on board for this, is kind of great.
And we're going to start over, just me and the girls, after she finds the fingers, and put them in Tupperware in the fridge, by the way, to like save. I don't know why, but like,
again, it's funny because at first she thinks, oh, it's more of their murder stuff, their murder reenactments, but then she realizes they're actual human, and then she finds the body.
Yeah, she's used to her house being like a Halloween spirit store as far as like that type of props, but like,
oh, and this movie ends on Halloween, we should mention. Like,
so because it allows Ginger to go to this party where everyone thinks she's in costume when really she's like quasi werewolf at that point.
Now she's now she can't walk around looking normal at all, so she's got this like, you know,
which is interesting to say. Do you think that just happens closer to the full moon, or like if she survived this night she would have walked around looking like that? Like
I think for the movie's purposes, of course, it's just the like, you know, just showing how she's losing control, I think. But if we were to extend beyond that, and maybe what I know about the second movie, I think she could go back to normal when she's away from the full moon.
This leads to the third act of the movie, where instead of going back to the mom, they kind of leave the mom in the van. We never see her again, or in the car, and she kind of takes Ginger back in the back of the van. She wants to cure her, like they're gonna stick her with this giant.
And also
giant
there's a nice the misunderstanding, the fact that she has a bigger plan when she turns herself into a wolf by mixing her blood with Ginger's. And Sam, who, you know, to his credit, how would he know that Bridget was doing a whole trick that she wanted to like calm her, but being like, we'll be wolves together, but really I want to cure you, and this is the only way to do it. But he doesn't know that, so he knocks out.
But she also makes herself a werewolf, kind of. It's like all or nothing.
Exactly. She makes herself a werewolf thinking she'll cure them both.
Right.
It's just Sam didn't realize that. Well,
she should have shared her plan. Like, this is why communication is important.
It's all happening in real time, man.
Look. Just send him a text. The cell phones existed at this point. Did texting exist? I can't.
This is 2099.
Very
very primitive, because it's still believable that these kids wouldn't necessarily have cell phones. I got mine in 1999. So yeah, this is not, everyone would not be texting yet. We're like 2 years away, I think, from everyone starts to text, but it still takes a long time because you have to press the three times.
I had a rant to go on earlier about my mom and the phone and just moms and technology in general that I'm sure you could have joined in on as far as like how unaware they are at what a scam is and what numbers not to call. And like, I don't know. Does your mom have this problem too?
Maybe, but I think not as much.
My mom was about to call a number on her computer screen from a pop-up scam ad because she couldn't make the ad go away when all you had to do was close the tab. And she was in the middle of calling this number, a number from a fucking pop. Anyway, take your old phones away, everyone. Take their phones away and lock them up. Okay, so not lock the phones up, not the old. Lock up the technology. Okay, so yeah, and then basically it's a lot of stalking in the house. Sam bites the dust.
Well, Sam, I said this, but this is a great moment. I did think this is a great moment because Sam is still alive. He's dragged away. First of all, there's a couple things I actually really like here cinematically. One is I just think it's a clever way to do it, which is when Sam leaves, they lock themselves in the closet. He goes out to try to find Ginger to give her the cure, but then he's just jumped and attacked. But it's mostly from Bridget's point of view in the closet as the door slams over and over again. And we know it's terrible. I just thought that was a cool way to do that. And then
I like it. I like budgetary limitations and restrictions when it comes to horror, like doing POV shots and stuff like that, like just behind the door stuff, when the actual werewolf looks goofy. Like I'd much rather see that than the actual ginger wolf in this case. So,
but there's another great moment that does involve the goofy looking ginger wolf, but just, when she finds poor Sam bleeding out, but in theory could still be saved because he's been cut, so she could he'd heal and she'd give him the cure. But then she succumbs briefly. She starts to scoop up his blood and drink it. And then it becomes this macabre kind of like threesome analogy because the two sisters are both like drinking his blood on each side of him. And I thought that was a cool visual, albeit with a goofy looking wolf involved, but it's still, we also skipped over, by the way, that speaking of a macabre threesome, there's even a creepy moment earlier when Ginger's like, we're barely even related in like a sexual way to her, like she's like almost like coming on to her. The idea that she's like lost
that she's so horny that like she just goes snowblind.
Right.
So it's funny, like, so given like the girl's obsession with death and with these actual death scenarios that they take photographs of and stage and all this the elaborate work that goes into that, it's interesting to pair that with the third act of like that scene that you just mentioned, which is like something so outlandishly grisly and ghoulish that like it's something you'd think they would take a picture of, like, hey, let's do a thing where I'm a werewolf and we're drinking blood and stuff like that. And then the end obviously too with like the dead like laying together like they originally intended as part of this pact, I assume, like to be close or touching or laying on top of each other either way, like because they're one soul, they were going to go together, one couldn't exist without the other. But now it's like the cure, the needle didn't go in, the knife went in. And so it subverts our expectation for, I mean, if you had expectations of a happy ending, but the movie drives you toward the idea that Ginger's going to be cured, but instead it winds up being way more morbid and macabre, like the things that they always sort of like hoped for. It's a very be careful what you wish for type.
Yeah, for
story.
Sure. And for sure. And then of course, and then you're left with this ambiguous nature of Bridget holding the cure she was not able to give her sister, could give herself. But we don't know if she's going to give it to herself. As we end there.
I think it's a really good movie that loses traction in the middle research parts, and like I think there's a few scenes that could have been snipped here and there, and then there's a draggy element that recurs. But the bones of this and the idea and the setup of these two characters is really intriguing and interesting and sort of unique in not just the genre of werewolf movies or horror movies, but also teenage girl movies or teenage movies, high school movies. So Ginger Snaps, Ginger Snap or Snaps? Snaps.
She snaps because Ginger
She
snaps.
does snaps. Yeah. This is very much like a
I like Jennifer's body. The title character isn't really the lead character. It's really from the point of view of her counterpart.
That's true, and that title was taken from a whole song. So yeah.
This movie, like I said, this is my second time watching it, and I really dig this movie. It's flawed, but I still think overall I really like what it's doing. I think it works. The girls are great. And just mentioning that the history of this movie, this was a tiny little Canadian movie that got nominated and won a fair amount of like Canadian Film Festival awards. Like it won Best Movie at Toronto International Film Festival, Best Canadian Film. And the actresses were nominated for a bunch of different things from like Vancouver Film Critics Circle and whatnot. It barely got released in the US. It had a decent theatrical release in Canada, but it was like kind of buried in the US, but then found a healthy
then home
VHS
video
DVD, which is why they made 2 and 3 were filmed like back to back. I
don't like to come down too hard on movies that are made for a 6-pack and a compliment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that are so cheaply made, like because people are realizing a dream and they just have a limited budget and they're doing actually some pretty miraculous and cool things with it and stuff like that. So yeah, like again, next week we're also watching a sort of a smaller budgeted movie, more budget than this, but still considering like other movies
much smaller. And then I'll just say if you liked this movie, I would say check out 2 and 3. All 3 star Emily Perkins and Catherine Isabelle. I quite enjoyed the second one. Not the third one's a prequel, and I was like, it's kind of like I was not into the third one really. The third one is a prequel that's just like set like centuries before, and they're playing like different characters, like they're
weird. It's like Fear Street.
It's sort of, yeah. They're playing Ginger and Bridget, except that they're their own ancestors or something like that. I wasn't into the third one. The second
is this the McFlys?
Yeah. The second one's fun. I think it's safe. I don't think it's a spoiler. It's just the way the movie works, that they don't bring Ginger back to life in the second one. It's the thing where she's like appearing to her as an apparition, talking to her the whole time. It's set in a mental institution. And the second one, the most notable thing with the second one, which is fun, I think the first is easily the best, is that one more Orphan Black connection to this series. Tatiana Maslany has a huge role in the second one as one of the other patients at this mental institution, and looking like she's 13, although I guess she was 18, but I think she's playing 13 or 14, looking like a tiny little Tatiana. Not that she's a huge Tatiana now. And I also wanted to mention with these 2 girls who are both great, just the funny thing of like how people age, which is that when they made this movie, Catherine Isabelle was 18, playing 16, pretty typical. But it is funny that Emily Perkins was 22 playing 15, but she looks so young that so she was the older one playing the younger.
We're all different, Eric, but we
different.
bleed the
Everyone's
same.
Different. And then
Tatiana Maslany in the second one. Interesting. Maybe I'll check it out. I do like Jennifer Walters' body. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's
She-Hulk. All right. Anyway, that was Ginger Snaps, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the movie and us talking about the movie, or hated both. I don't know. Maybe. Sure. But next week will be Dog Soldiers from Neil Marshall. And as we continue our werewolf run with that movie, and then we've got one more after that, but we will be taking a break for Thanksgiving and return right as I'm in the throes of moving. So that should be fun. Anyway, until then, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.